Meg says, "Hi Luke, reading out loud and recording ourselves or shadowing to get better speaking fluency, which gives the fastest results." Okay, so I think you've made some assumptions there that both of those give fast results. But let's define what we mean by fluency, okay? If by fluency you mean how smooth it sounds when you speak, just the sounds, and how the words flow together to get that natural sound, then we might be talking about the same thing. If by fluency we mean the ability to communicate well, naturally in English, we may not be talking about the same thing. This may be an issue with words, right? People understand words to mean different things. Reading out loud, shadowing, and I'll talk about what those things are in a second. Both of these can help in one area but not in another. If it comes to, or when it comes to, speaking naturally, the most difficult part is not just making the sounds. That's part of it, of course, pronunciation, all of that. The most difficult part is finding the right words, which ones are natural, which ones are right for this situation, how do I put them together, how do I express what I feel, how do I use the right tense, how do I form the whole paragraph or sentence in my mind. All of these things are thoughts that you have to have as you're communicating. And if you're a native English speaker, you do this without thinking, of course. But if you're learning, you have to think about these things. Now, will reading out loud help you in that area? No, not really. No. Why would it? Because you're not engaging any of those gears. Think of what's going on in your mind as different gears. You know how when you put one gear in place, it engages and starts turning. But if you pull it back, it doesn't engage, it just sits there. So all of the gears in there, the English gears, pronunciation. And by pronunciation, we could also mean making words flow together naturally. Grammar, sticking together words in a whole sentence. How we do that, tenses and all of that stuff. Maybe vocabulary, which words to choose, and that includes maybe idioms, expressions, all of that. That's another gear, okay? So when you're reading out loud, you're engaging a couple gears, but not all the gears. You're not engaging the vocabulary gear, really. You're not engaging the grammar gear, probably at all. And you might be getting some things, learning some things passively, but that's not, you can't just look away from the book and say, okay, now I know how to speak English. No. You're working on pronunciation. You're working on that flowing natural sound, right? So just to be clear about what you're working on, think about the gears that you're engaging with each task. If by fluency you mean just sounding natural and speaking with a natural rhythm, definitely shadowing is better than reading. And I'll explain why. When you read out loud, you sit there and you look at a page and you read out loud, you're practicing making the sounds of English with your mouth, and that's great. Okay, so I'm not saying don't do it. Listening to yourself, listening back to yourself, great, fine. You can listen back and say, okay, my intonation could have been a little bit more natural here. My voice sounds a little flat. Ooh, the pronunciation of the word oshkosh. What is that word? Oshkosh, banash, osh. It's a clothing brand. Why did I choose a word I don't even know how to say? It's a self-inflicted wound. Yeah, that's what it is. So, oshkosh bagosh. I think that's what it is. So you read a word and then you hear it back when you say it and you know that's wrong because you know the correct pronunciation and you know what sounds more natural and you say to yourself, that could have been better when you listen back to the recording of you reading, which is great. But shadowing is potentially even more powerful. Shadowing is where you have some audio to listen to and you try your best to get close to that sound. British English, American English, me, anyone, right? You try to copy the exact sounds because there you're taking the focus on what is the word exactly. and you're putting the focus on the individual sounds and what you have to do with this thing here and this thing here to make that sound correctly. And you're immediately comparing yourself to the sounds that you hear. How is this word said exactly? How does this native English speaker say this exactly, right? And that also increases your awareness, the ability to hear slight differences between yourself and what you hear. Oh, I'm saying but I'm hearing slightly different. So you're able to notice those things when you do shadowing because you're immediately following after what you hear. You're doing it at the same time. And it's all about listening. So there's immediate feedback to yourself. Now, you should record that too. That's great to record as well. But the powerful thing is that you have that immediate comparison to something you're listening to. You're also working on your listening skills, your awareness, and your ability to hear subtle differences. And then because you're comparing yourself, your own sound, to those small differences, then you're improving your habits. You're able to then notice, oh, I said it wrong that time, and I know that because I remember the shadowing exercise I did, and I'm going to then change it so that the next time it'll be easier to say correctly, and the next time it'll be easier, and then it's a new habit. So you improve your habits through practice based on improved awareness and improved listening. You're working on more things than when you just sit there looking at a page, reading words on the page. Again, nothing wrong with it, but I don't think it's as effective. So if you're going to choose one for fastest results, then go with shadowing. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do both. And just to be clear, that doesn't mean you're going to then be a good English speaker. Because there are plenty of people who have very good pronunciation who still don't speak well at all because they haven't engaged those gears. They haven't used those gears very much because they think that shadowing and reading will make them better at English, which is not necessarily true. You have to do a lot of other things as well. Hope that helps. Guys, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. Also, hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. It helps the channel significantly. And check out my full courses in the links in the description.